Well, there are a number of things. For one thing, innovation's never a linear journey to a successful outcome. And so if you understand that sometimes people try really hard and do their best and it doesn't work out, and you call that learning instead of, some character defect, that obviously is quite important, because if you punish people for not succeeding in that way, then people will not be motivated to try harder. I think that having an idea that people can rally around that's so exciting that everybody wants to get out of bed earlier in the morning because they can't wait to get started is clearly important. I think that collaboration, being willing to do things outside of your formal job description because it helps us as opposed to me, is very important. But then there are mechanics, having access to the right resources. A lot of companies talk about innovation and how innovative they are, but they don't fund it. They don't create the flexibility for people to move around, and they restrict access to the intellectual capital that's necessary. In the AI world, data is very important, but if you put an iron fence around the data because you have an old-fashioned idea that you have to protect it for privacy reasons or control reasons, then you're not going to get the kind of behavior that leads to innovation. So those are some of the things. There are a lot. Well, disruption implies that things are turbulent, but then they become calmer, and that when things are turbulent, you want to manage things well and be careful and flexible and courageous, just like you're a sailor in the middle of a storm. But discontinuity means that you're on a voyage and you don't have a map that takes you all the way to the destination. It kind of ends in the middle. And so you have to create a new map, which requires a very different mindset. So, part of my dissatisfaction with most innovation and leadership theory and concepts is that they're not well suited to the current environment, which I believe requires us to think in terms of discontinuities, that we are all owning maps that are out of date and that end in the middle of the ocean. Well, part of the issue is who's doing the rankings and how are the rankings done. Is this one of the business magazines you're referring to, or is this the Global Innovation Index, or is
it's the Global Innovation Index? Yeah. Global Innovation Index.
Well, it's interesting. I actually have some inside information, not about Norway per se, but I'm on the advisory board of the Global Innovation Index. These results, these rankings, which are also done by Fortune and Forbes and other business publications, depend very much on what the variables are that you decide to measure, right? So, first of all, I wouldn't necessarily take it so seriously because the Global Innovation Index measures a lot of very specific things that are of interest to policymakers, like education outcomes and GDP devoted to R&D and things that are important, but maybe are not the complete story. So you're in the entrepreneurship business. I'd be curious about the number of startups, the amount of venture capital, the number of successful exits, the flows of people out of traditional employment and things of this kind. But so that's one answer. The other answer is that countries in general rise in the rankings, generally speaking, when they have a climate that is encouraging of let's say, non-standard behavior in their careers, right? So in some countries, to leave an established company and to go out on your own is viewed as a sign of failure, or a sign that you weren't able to do well in the real stuff, and that there are cultural barriers to doing entrepreneurial activities. And maybe also similarly, it's hard to find funding. And then if your idea is great, but for reasons that are not related to you, the business doesn't work out, then you're finished in business, right? All of which has a inhibiting effect on innovation. So I'm actually curious now to go back and take a look at what the Global Innovation Index said about Norway, because I believe from my limited experience that Norway is not only filled with innovators, but it has a lot of innovation potential. It's much easier to go from being a well-organized, procedure-driven culture, engineering culture, to an innovation culture than it is to be a freewheeling kind of anything goes innovation culture and try to get to the precision and engineering and kind of clarity other side of the equation. Norway to me is exciting because it does things very, very well, and then it's not that much of a big leap to add the mindset of seeking possibilities and taking reasonable risks and so on to make amazing things happen. Well, it's an interesting way you phrase the question, which is how far should we let innovation go? Because I guess the question is who's we? If we is the government, then obviously there are issues around what the government should be allowed to do. If we is all of us in terms of our moral sense, that's another question, because there are parts of the world, like I'd argue the Nordic region, where the moral sense is quite well developed, and other parts of the world where people just want to make money or get power, and they don't worry about things like ethics. A lot of the technologies that we're looking at today are very dangerous, and anything that is very productive can also be used in a very unproductive way. So even AI, for instance, can either be used to enhance human potential or used as an agent of social control. Biology can be used to treat illness, but it can be used to kill people. So I think that having frameworks around emerging technology, ethical frameworks, is very important. But the problem is that putting enforcement into those ethical frameworks is very difficult. There was when genetic engineering became a thing, there was a big meeting in California, and they did standards for let's not create three-headed goats and things of that kind. For everybody who says, oh, well, we should be very careful about the internet, there are an equal number of people who are using it to destabilize society, and some of them are governments, and some of them are, criminal organizations. So I think a different level of enforcement, a different level of ethical standards is needed, and that's a big challenge today. Well, I think Frank Zappa's innovation was partly fueled by the fact that he was an outsider to the tradition of serious classical music, which was his dream. His dream was to be a serious American composer. And sometimes when you're an outsider, just like when you're an entrepreneur, you have to try very hard to create something that's new and different. So he combined things in a way that was extremely unusual, and you could argue that a lot of creativity comes because of the combination of unusual ingredients. F. Scott Fitzgerald, who was a famous American writer, said that the mark of a well-developed intellect is the ability to combine different ideas in one mind, contradictory ideas in one mind at the same time. So Frank would take serious avant-garde music and combine it with surfer drums and with musique concrète and with spoken word and Los Angeles weird underground culture, and turn that into a commercial product. And he was always talking about commercial potential and content. And this is in the 60s, when content was not a very popular concept. It was, we're in the movie business or the music business. But he thought, I'll take an idea, and it can be a record, it can be a film, it can be a graphic, a poster, it can be a book, it can be many different things. The other thing about him that stands out for me, having spent the better part of 3.5 months basically doing everything he did continuously, was that he was very good at not only managing his own creativity, but managing the creativity of other people, getting the best out of them, and being very, very kind to young artists, which is why he took me in for that period of time, and was always kind and supportive, and not at all like his popular image of being a wild and crazy guy.